Welcome to Revenge Report. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let's dive in. I was standing in the shop office at the back of the garage, arms crossed, watching a busted Ford F-150 get dragged in through the dusty window. The AC unit in the corner was rattling like it was about to fall off the wall. I had grease on my knuckles and a pit in my stomach even before the phone rang. It was my brother Dave. His voice came through the receiver calm and careful, like he was walking on glass. "Hey," he said. "Listen, I don't think you should come down this weekend." I paused. "Why?" "She's finally having a good day," he said. "I don't want to mess that up." The words hit me like a gut punch. I stood up straighter. "Mess it up? How would I do that?" He let out a breath. "You know how she gets after you visit or call. She worries too much about you being in the city. It's too much for her right now." I pressed the phone harder to my ear. "So me saying hi is too much for her?" He didn't answer that directly. "She's resting. That's all. Don't make a big thing out of it." I blinked at the wall. "Put her on the phone." "She's sleeping. Wake her up. She needs the rest." "Dave?" "I said she's sleeping," he snapped. Then his voice softened again. Fake calm. "Look, I'm just trying to keep her stable, all right? I'm here every day. I see what sets her off. That did it." My jaw clenched. "I'm her son, too." He didn't respond. Just silence on the line. "I'm serious, Dave. I want to talk to her." Click. The line went dead. I pulled the phone away and just stared at it. No dial tone, no chance to say goodbye, nothing. "Before we keep going, quick note, share which city or country you're watching from." I stood there in the middle of the shop office, surrounded by old parts, busted hoses, and half-written work orders, gripping that dead phone like it could give me answers if I squeezed hard enough. My hands were shaking. Something was off, way off. Mom and I used to talk every Sunday. She was sharp, funny, always asking if I was eating enough, checking up on my job at the garage like she ran it. She'd had a stroke 6 months back, and things got quiet. That's when Dave swooped in, moved back home like a hero. He said he'd take care of her, help her recover. I thought he was doing the right thing. But now, I couldn't shake it. That call, it didn't feel like protection. It felt like control. I looked out at the truck still being unloaded, but my mind wasn't on work anymore. I grabbed my keys and headed for the front of the garage. I didn't even bother going home that night. I slept on the garage couch and got on the road at 6 the next morning. 4 hours of highway, gas station coffee, and chewing on everything Dave had said. I didn't tell anyone I was coming, didn't call. I needed to see her face when she wasn't expecting me. It was early afternoon when I pulled onto our old street. Everything looked like a memory on pause. The same mailbox with the bent flag, the same cracked sidewalk, the same hydrangeas Mom planted 10 years ago somehow still blooming in late summer. The house looked perfect. I mean, too perfect. Yard freshly mowed, porch swept clean, curtains pulled straight like someone spent extra time making it look lived in. That wasn't our house. Not really. Not the one I grew up in where shoes were always by the door and the curtains never matched. Before I even raised my fist to knock, the front door opened. Dave stood there in a faded polo shirt and jeans like some suburban robot. He acted surprised, mouth half open. "Wow, you drove down?" I shrugged. "Didn't feel like waiting till next month." He stepped aside slowly. "You should have called. She's tired today." In the den, reading, he said it like a warning, not an invitation. I walked past him, through the hall that still smelled like lemon cleaner and old carpet. The living room had been rearranged. Family photos were moved, furniture shifted, like he was slowly making it his. I found her in the den, curled up in the big recliner by the window. The room was hot. No fan, no breeze, just dead air. She had a thick blanket pulled up to her chest even though it was pushing 90 outside. She looked smaller. Her hair was flat, her face pale. But when she saw me, her eyes lit up like somebody flipped a switch. "Sweetheart?" she said, her voice thin but clear. I bent down and hugged her. She held on to me like she didn't want to let go. I could feel her ribs through her sweater. "I brought you something," I said, pulling the little digital radio from my backpack. "Preloaded it with all your favorites. Motown, Elvis, that goofy station with the jazz you hate but always sing along to anyway." Before she could even touch it, Dave stepped in from behind. "Oh, let me set that up first. Gotta make sure the volume doesn't spike. That can stress her out." He just took it out of my hands like it belonged to him. Walked over to the shelf like he knew exactly where it would go. Mom looked at me, then at him. She didn't say anything. I didn't either, but my jaw tightened. It wasn't about the radio. It was the way he just did it. Like she didn't get a say, like she was part of the furniture. He fiddled with the buttons for a second, then said, "See?" Said at a good level. "We don't want her ears ringing." I watched his hands. How precise he was. How quick. Like he'd done this kind of thing 100 times already. "Mom," I said, turning back to her, "you still listening to that Sunday night Motown hour?" Her face twitched a little, a smile trying to fight through the exhaustion. "Only if they don't skip the Temptations." We both laughed. Dave didn't. She reached over and touched my arm. Her skin felt cool, too cool for how warm the room was. Something was off, way off. I sat with her for a while, pretending things were normal, but my eyes were working overtime, checking the bookshelf, the end table, the corners. And Dave? He sat down across the room and watched us like a security guard, not a brother. After about 20 minutes, she started to drift off. Dave stood up. "She needs rest. Big day with therapy yesterday. I didn't move." He added, "I'm serious." "It takes a toll." I leaned down and kissed her forehead. "I'll stop by again before I head out. Okay?" She gave me the faintest nod, but she didn't let go of my hand until he stepped in between us. I didn't say goodbye to him. I walked out, straight to my car, and just sat there with the engine running. I wasn't done, not even close. I went back inside after sitting in the car for 10 minutes trying to cool off. Dave was in the kitchen pretending to make tea, but I didn't stop to talk. I just walked past him like I lived there. Mom was still in the recliner, half awake, blanket bunched at her knees now. I sat back down across from her. "You up for a little more company?" She smiled, tired but happy. "Always." We talked about nothing for a while. Old neighbors, the busted tree in the front yard, how terrible the new grocery store layout was. But the whole time, my eyes kept scanning the room. Her walker was parked across the room, by the bookshelf. Too far. No way she put it there herself. The TV remote was sitting up on the mantel. She wouldn't be able to reach it unless she stood up and walked over. Without the walker. Her glasses were on the side table, smudged so badly I couldn't imagine she could read a thing. I picked them up and gently wiped them on the bottom of my shirt. She was watching me, not saying a word, just watching. "You still using that phone I got you?" I asked. Dave answered from the doorway before she could. "Nah, that thing was way too complicated. She kept hitting the wrong buttons." I turned and looked at him. "It's a basic flip phone with 3 numbers programmed in. One of them was mine. She got frustrated with it. Threw it once. I took it away before she broke it or hurt herself. She doesn't need more stress." Mom gave a weak laugh like she was trying to back him up but couldn't fully commit. "So how does she call anyone?" I asked. Dave shrugged. "Through the house line. I screen the calls now. She gets overwhelmed if too many people call at once. That's not your decision to make." He gave me a tight smile. "It is when I'm the one here every day." Mom looked down at her lap. Her hands were folded, fingers twitching. I didn't push more. I just leaned toward her and said, "I'll call you tomorrow, okay?" Around 10, she looked up at me. Her eyes didn't sparkle the way they used to. They looked tired. Not just from age, from effort, like staying agreeable was a job. She reached out and grabbed my arm. Tight. "Don't be mad at him," she whispered. "He's doing his best." I didn't say anything. Couldn't. Dave stood there, arms crossed, waiting. I finally stood up and kissed the top of her head. "I'll talk to you tomorrow." On the drive back, I couldn't stop replaying that moment. The way her fingers dug into my arm. How she didn't even look at Dave when she said it. She was defending him, but her body told a different story. I made it home by dark, dropped my bag on the floor, and didn't turn the lights on. I just sat in the silence and tried to make sense of it all. He'd gotten in her head, twisted everything around so she thought needing help made her a burden. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering how long it'd been like this, and how far he'd already gone. She wasn't losing her mind. She was being managed, and I wasn't letting it slide. The next morning, I dragged myself into the garage on fumes. The guys were joking around by the lift, but I wasn't hearing any of it. I kept replaying Mom's voice in my head, that quiet squeeze on my arm like she was begging me not to look too hard. Screw that. I couldn't focus on repairs. My hands kept slipping, like my brain was half a second behind. So, on lunch break, I shut myself in the office, pulled up a sandwich I wasn't going to eat, and opened my laptop. First thing I did was check job records. I'd worked with enough insurance reps and old clients to know where to look. Took some digging, but eventually I found it. Dave hadn't held steady work since the year he moved back home. Nothing in town, nothing remote, nothing anywhere. So how was he paying bills? I found Mom's pension info from when Dad passed. Steady monthly checks, decent amount. There was a savings account too. I remembered helping her set it up after the funeral. That thing should have been untouched. But when I logged into the old joint account she used to have me on before Dave moved in, I got locked out. He must have changed the access. I kept going. Ran a background check using a buddy system. The guy had a pattern, bounced around 3 states in 7 years. A string of short-term gigs, most under a year. Debt collection notices. 1 eviction. Nothing criminal, but a long, sloppy trail of failure. And now he was playing Nurse of the Year? No shot. After work, I drove straight back to the old neighborhood. Parked a couple houses down so he wouldn't see my truck. Mrs. Lewis was out watering her porch plants. I hadn't seen her in years, but she looked exactly the same. Sun hat, big sunglasses, always put together like she was expecting a church meeting at any minute. Mrs. Lewis? I walked up slow, casual. She blinked behind her shades, then smiled. Well, I'll be. You came all the way from the city? Just visiting. I lowered my voice. Can I ask you something about my mom? Her smile dropped. I haven't seen her in months. That hit me hard. He told me she's just been tired. She shook her head. I called once. He answered. Told me she wasn't up for visitors anymore. Said the doctor said no stimulation. No stimulation, I repeated. She used to love sitting out front with her tea. She hasn't been out here since early spring, she said, voice tight. I thought maybe she went to rehab or something. I thanked her and kept moving. I knocked on the Mitchell's door next. The husband answered, eyes wary. Hey, I'm just trying to check in on my mom. You seen her around lately? He rubbed his jaw. Not in a while. Maybe April? She used to wave from the porch every morning, I nodded. Yeah, I remember. He's real protective now, the guy added. Won't even open the door if someone knocks. Said she's fragile. But the way he said protective wasn't praise. It was suspicion. I walked the block, stopping here and there, talking to folks who'd known our family for decades. They all said the same thing. Dave was in control now. Mom wasn't around much. Nobody had spoken to her directly in months. By the time I got back in my truck, the picture was clear. She wasn't fragile. She was being isolated, and Dave had everyone fooled into thinking it was care. He was slowly erasing her life, one quiet excuse at a time. I sat in my truck for a long time after talking to the neighbors, hands clenched around the steering wheel. I wasn't just angry, I was wired. My brain was running loops I couldn't shut off. Then I remembered something. The radio. The little digital one I gave Mom. It had a built-in voice memo feature. She didn't know that, and I hadn't brought it up. It wasn't a camera or anything fancy, just a basic audio sync tool. When I set it up, I linked it to my cloud in case she ever wanted help uploading her favorite songs. I drove straight home, barely saw the road. In my apartment, I tossed my keys on the counter, opened my laptop, and pulled up the file folder. It took a second to load, but the Wi-Fi sync had worked. The radio had been recording in short bursts. Most of it was background noise. Game shows, oldies, a bit of local news. But then I started hearing voices. Real voices. His voice. It started subtle. Dave, finish your oatmeal or no TV. She didn't respond right away. Then her voice, soft, almost apologetic. It's cold. Dave, eat it anyway. The clip ended. Next one. Mom, can I go sit outside today? Dave, nope. You went outside last week. Mom, but the sun? Dave, no arguments. The doctor said limit stimulation. Remember? You want to get worse? Click. I sat back in my chair, heart thudding. This wasn't care. This was control. Next file. Silence, then a sudden sharp voice. Dave, again. You have no idea how much I gave up for you. So maybe be a little grateful Mom didn't say anything back. Just a small sound, like a sigh or a sob. I hit pause, stared at the screen. Next one. The house phone rang. Dave picked up. She's sleeping. Try again next week. But in the background, faint but clear, Mom's voice. Who is it? Is that Karen? Let me talk. Dave. She's not available. Click. Every time I heard his voice, I felt my jaw clench tighter. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Like he was talking to a toddler, like she didn't matter. I kept listening. Each file stacked the picture clearer. He wasn't hurting her physically, but he didn't have to. He dictated every move. What she ate when she slept, who she talked to. Her world was four walls and him. That was it. I scrolled through the timestamps, dozens of files, weeks of this. The pattern didn't change. One file caught me off guard. Mom was humming softly, some old Motown track. Then she said, "Maybe I'll call him later. Dave, he's busy. Don't bother him." But he said, "Dave." I said no. The humming stopped. That silence said more than anything else. I didn't sleep that night either. I just sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, headphones on, heart racing like I'd been running sprints. He was cutting her off from the world, slowly, quietly. But now I had proof, and I wasn't keeping it to myself. By morning, I had a plan forming in my head, but I needed backup. Not just someone who believed me, someone who knew the system. So I called Lacey. She was a social worker I met 6 months earlier. Her sister had been in a nursing home nightmare we helped with at the garage. Long story. But I remembered how steady she was. No drama, just facts. When I explained what was going on, she didn't interrupt once. I sent her a few of the recordings. She called back 15 minutes later. "That's elder abuse," she said, flat. "He's isolating her. Manipulating her? That's not okay. I know. But if I show up swinging, he'll shut the door in my face and call the cops. He's already spun this whole story about how fragile she is. Then we don't go in swinging," she said. "We go in watching, listening, asking small questions. You don't need to prove he's evil. You just need to create space for her to breathe. The truth comes out fast when someone finally feels safe." That's what I needed. Space. Just a crack in the wall. We talked through it. She'd come with me as a neutral visitor. Nothing official. Just another concerned friend. I'd bring the radio again, act like I was just checking on the volume or settings. Lacey would ask about Mom's hobbies, her sleep, her comfort. We wouldn't accuse, wouldn't argue. If we could just get her out of that chair, out of that house, even for a couple hours, maybe the fog would start to lift. Maybe she'd remember who she was before Dave made her feel like a burden. I packed a small overnight bag and tucked it behind the seat in my truck. I threw in one of her old cardigans she used to wear at cookouts, a fresh pair of slippers, her favorite lotion, and a tin of those lemon drops she always kept in the kitchen drawer. Was it overkill? Maybe. But I wasn't planning for comfort, I was planning for escape. Later that night, I called Lacey again. "Are you sure you're good doing this?" I asked. "It's not your mess." "It is now," she said. "And trust me, I've seen this exact setup before. These guys don't hit. They don't scream. They just drain people slowly until no one sees the person inside anymore." "Yeah," I muttered. "He's been doing that for months." "Then let's go break the cycle." We picked a time, 2 days later, mid-morning, when Dave would least expect company. Not too early, not too late. I hung up and sat on the edge of my bed for a long time, just staring at the bag I'd packed. This wasn't about proving Dave was a piece of crap. It was about giving Mom one clean breath of air. Just one. 2 mornings later, I pulled up to Mom's house with Lacey riding shotgun. I didn't say much on the way over. Didn't need to. She had a clipboard, a light sweater, and that no-nonsense calm that made her seem like she belonged anywhere she walked into. I parked behind Dave's car in the driveway. "You ready?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Let's do it." I walked up first, knocked twice. The door swung open faster than I expected. Dave stood there in jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt, eyes flicking from me to Lacey. His smile was paper thin. "Didn't know you were bringing company?" I kept my voice level. "This is Lacey. She's a friend." His eyes narrowed just enough. "Friend, huh?" Lacey stepped forward with a warm, polite nod. "Nice to meet you, Dave. I've heard a lot about the place. Just wanted to drop in and say hi to your mom." He hesitated. Not long, but enough to show he was thrown. Then he stepped aside. "Sure, she's resting, but all right." We walked in. The living room smelled like old candles and reheated soup. Same layout, same silence, same tension hanging in the air. Mom was in the recliner again. Same blanket, same thin frame, same vacant expression. But when she saw me, something shifted. Her face lit up like someone had remembered to turn her back on. She sat up straighter. You came back. Of course I did, I said. Didn't I promise I'd call? Her eyes flicked to Lacey. This is my friend Lacey, I added. She's just here to say hi. Lacey smiled and walked slowly over, kneeling next to the recliner like she'd known Mom her whole life. These flowers out front, Lacey said, pointing toward the window. Hydrangeas, right? They're beautiful, Mom nodded. Planted them years ago. They always bloom too late. I think they're right on time, Lacey said. Then she looked around the room, taking it in. You've got such a cozy setup here. Love the quilt. It was my mother's, Mom said. She made it by hand. Lacey kept going, complimenting the pictures on the wall, asking about favorite TV shows, food cravings, whatever came to mind. And Mom, she started responding. Not big or loud, but real, like she was waking up inch by inch. Dave hovered nearby, arms folded, jaw tight. After about 20 minutes, Lacey stood up. You know what I'd love? A little drive. Nothing far, just a quick loop around the neighborhood. Fresh air always clears my head. Mom blinked. Now? Lacey smiled. If you're up for it. Before she could answer, Dave jumped in. She doesn't have a coat. And it's hot. She can't handle heat. I pointed to the coat rack by the door. Her cardigan's right there. She's got a doctor's appointment this afternoon, he said. Lacey pulled out her phone. The calendar says her next one's not till the 12th. He stepped toward us. You can't just take her. I stared him down. We're not taking her. We're asking. And it's up to her. He looked at Mom, waiting for backup, for the old script. But this time, she didn't look at him. She looked at me, then at Lacey, then down at the blanket in her lap. She didn't speak right away, just reached up and pushed the blanket off her legs. Yes, she said, steady and clear. I'd like to go. Dave's face went pale. Lacey grabbed the cardigan and helped Mom to her feet. I stepped in, grabbed the walker, and handed it over without a word. Mom held onto it like it meant something again. Dave didn't say another word, just stood there, watching as we walked her out the front door. She paused on the porch, closed her eyes, and took a long breath like it was the first clean one in months. We helped her into the back seat, slow and careful. She settled in, looked out the window, and smiled. Not at me, not at Lacey, just out at the world. Then I pulled out of the driveway, and we left. Back at the hotel, Mom walked in like the floor might disappear under her. She didn't ask where we were. She didn't even sit down at first. She just looked around the room slowly, touching the dresser, the edge of the bed, like it was all foreign but safe. Lacey helped her get settled, took her vitals, asked a few light questions. Then she made the call, scheduled a full health evaluation at the clinic nearby. Mom was quiet through all of it, but when Lacey left, she whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I didn't say anything, just nodded. While she rested, I stepped into the hallway and called the lawyer I'd used when Dad passed. Told him everything. Short version. I didn't need advice. I needed action. We need to revoke all financial and medical control from my brother, I said. Today. He didn't argue. He got the paperwork started. Emergency guardianship first, restraining order next. I was done playing polite. That night, while Mom was watching some old Western rerun, my phone rang. Dave's name lit up. I let it ring the first time, let it go to voicemail. He called again. I answered. "Where the hell is she?" he snapped. "She's safe," I said. "You had no right. No goddamn right. You destroyed everything." "No," I said flatly. "You did that. You isolated her, shut her down, made her afraid to speak up. You didn't take care of her. You erased her." He laughed, bitter, sharp. "I gave up everything for her. You gave up nothing. You leached off her pension and called it love. You have no idea what it's been like. I was there every day. I kept her fed, kept the house running. You think dropping by for a visit and throwing money around makes you the hero? I think keeping her from her friends, lying to the neighbors, and answering her phone like a prison guard makes you the villain." I shot back. There was a pause, then he shifted tactics. "You know what? I'll go public. I'll say you kidnapped her, that you manipulated her. I'll tell the family everything. Make you look like the unstable one. Go for it," I said. "Tell whoever you want. But you're not getting near her again. I've got recordings, statements, timelines, witnesses. Try anything and I'll bury you in paperwork." "You really think you're better than me?" he hissed. I don't have to be better, I said. I just have to be done. And I am silence. Then a final low growl from him. You'll regret this. I already regret not doing it sooner, I said. Then I hung up. I walked back into the room. Mom had dozed off, the remote resting on her lap. Her chest rose and fell in a soft rhythm, peaceful for once. I sat down in the armchair across from her and stared at the phone in my hand. If Dave wanted to fight, let him. But the war was already over, and he lost. Mom woke up the next morning asking for pancakes, not oatmeal, not soup. Pancakes. So yeah, we were already winning. A week later, I moved her into a small assisted living place 10 minutes from my apartment. It wasn't a hospital, no beeping machines, no nurses barking orders. Just a quiet ground floor unit with a kitchenette, a patio, and a shelf by the window for her lemon drops. First thing she did was hang up that old photo of her and Dad from their road trip to Arizona. Said it made the place feel claimed. She started laughing again, calling old friends. Watching her old game shows, without Dave hovering over her shoulder. She even asked me to bring over her knitting bag. Said her hands felt like doing something useful again. The lawyer got the restraining order finalized. Dave didn't fight it. Not once. I think he knew. Deep down, he knew exactly what he'd done, even if he'd never admitted out loud. And the money? Frozen. Every dollar Mom had is protected now. He can't touch it. He can't touch her. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about how close I came to missing it. How easy it would have been to just keep sending her checks and calling once a week. Telling myself that was enough, that she was being taken care of, but I didn't. I showed up, and I pulled her out. Now, every time I stop by, every damn time, she grabs my hand before I leave and says it with the same look in her eyes. You saved me. I always shake my head and tell her the truth. I didn't save you, Mom. I just reminded you who you were.